Ritu grew up in a small village in Uttar Pradesh, known for valuing education. Against the typical grain, her parents encouraged her to push as far as her mind could take her. That drive landed her a spot studying mathematics on the South Campus of Delhi University. She excelled in her classes. By her final semester, she had already cleared her postgraduate exams and secured a highly coveted seat at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research to pursue a master's and PhD in science. She fell in with a tight-knit group of 6 other highly ambitious students. They were math and science majors, people who spent their days dissecting complex equations and preparing for advanced degrees at institutions like IIT. Living in a major city and studying hard sciences created a distinct filter through which they viewed the world. To them, the universe was a place of measurable facts and predictable physics. The village stories of curses and spirits Ritu grew up hearing were nothing more than psychological crutches for the uneducated. One evening, the group decided to take a break and walk through Satya Niketan Park. Passing an old peepal tree, they noticed something out of place. Sitting right at the base of the trunk was a large box of sweets, marked cleanly with 3 distinct lines of bright red vermilion. Back in her village, leaving an offering like that meant one thing: witchcraft. Ritu immediately recognized the markers of an occult ritual and warned her friends to back away. Amit, a physics student heading to IIT, laughed at her. He saw a perfect opportunity to test her rationality, asking how a future scientist could possibly be scared of a box of sugar and flour. To prove his point, Amit picked up the box, pulled out a sweet, and forcefully shoved it into Ritu's mouth. He ate one himself, passed the rest around to the group, and they even took the leftovers to campus to share with their favorite professor. By trying to demonstrate how immune they were to old folklore, they bypassed a clear physical warning. They treated a deliberate ritual offering like a joke and ingested whatever intentions were attached to it. Over the next 2 weeks, the group felt off. Spells of nausea, sudden vomiting, and severe lethargy hit different friends at random times. Because it was the turn of the season, they wrote it off as a passing viral bug. Then the professor who ate the sweets had an accident. While driving home along the busy Dalakwa road, he violently swerved his car. Before dying from massive head trauma, he told doctors he was trying to avoid hitting 2 girls who materialized directly in front of his headlights. Ritu began to experience her own anomalies. Walking home from the market in the evenings, she repeatedly saw 2 young women standing down the street. They never moved, and their faces held zero expression, but their eyes locked onto Ritu until she closed her front door. The unease peaked late one night. Feeling deeply unsettled, Ritu called a friend to come stay with her. When she thought she heard a knock, she opened her locked door to an empty hallway. Turning back inside, a heavy, invisible hand clamped firmly onto her shoulder. Her rational defenses were failing. The equations and logic that dictated her daily life offered zero explanation for a physical touch in an empty room, or for the identical figures silently tracking her movements. The physical toll broke into the open during a quiet afternoon class.
Ankur, who had also eaten from the box, sat alone in the corner, furiously tearing a piece of paper into shreds and muttering to himself. He bolted from the classroom. When his friends caught up to him outside the washroom, he was staring at a wall. He shoved the shredded paper into his mouth, chewing violently, and declared he was going to eat it. But the audio didn't match. Several distinct female voices echoed from his throat at exactly the same time, right before he collapsed. He was immediately rushed to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Scans showed that numerous nerves throughout his body had been inexplicably severed. A top-tier surgical team worked on him for 24 uninterrupted hours. The surgical intervention failed, and Ankur died in the hospital. The best medical technology in the country could not reverse the damage. The contagion continued to spread. Jayanti, another friend from the park, gave birth to a healthy baby boy. But on her first night home, she saw 2 girls standing by her bed, stating they were going to consume her infant. The baby died the next morning, and Jayanti took her own life shortly after. In a matter of months, 3 healthy, educated people were dead. the highest levels of empirical science in modern medicine had encountered a force they could neither measure, diagnose, nor defeat. Ritu's mind finally snapped. Now hallucinating the ghost of Jayanti blaming her for the deaths, she stopped answering her university calls. Recognizing how severely she had degraded, her family drove to Delhi, pulled her out of her apartment, and took her back to their village. Her father hired Mahavirji, a highly respected local priest, to perform an intervention. He diagnosed a severe spiritual attachment and scheduled a yagya. But an hour after leaving Ritu's house, he was violently ripped off his moving motorcycle by an unseen force. He died from his injuries 12 days later. Desperate, the family loaded Ritu into a car to drive to a specialized temple. The entire journey, Ritu violently convulsed, twisting her body at unnatural angles and fighting the men trying to hold her down. They arrived at Mehendipur Balaji, a temple famous for complex traditional exorcisms. It took days of intense ancient rituals before Ritu finally regained her lucidity. The very practices her university friends had confidently mocked in the park turned out to be the exact targeted protocols needed to save her life. When her family finally traced the history of her college neighborhood, they found the source. 2 young women, both pregnant and recently abandoned by their boyfriends, had rented a room near Ritu's apartment. Unable to cope, they had committed suicide together. This timeline maps the exact sequence of events. After the suicides, the landlord hired a tantric to clear the negative energy from the room. That ritual successfully bound the volatile spirits to the local peepal tree, using a specific offering to anchor them. That anchor was the red-marked box of sweets Ritu and her friends found and consumed. Ritu survived because her mind refused to fully surrender to the intrusion, but the cost was immense. She spent years recovering from the trauma, completely losing her hard-earned seat at TFIR and her trajectory as a top-tier scientist. Intelligence and rationalism are incredibly powerful tools, but when an elder tells you not to touch a strange object left under a tree, all the academic brilliance in the world won't protect you from the consequences of ignoring them.